Good morning, angels.
Good morning, William.
Oh my god, I forgot my shirt, but it's out there, but there's no time. In any case, we have just seen the rehearsal for the jury final, second semifinal. Unfortunately, we're throwing a party tonight, so we're not going to be watching the jury final. So this is our preview of the jury final. We're going to talk about all 18 acts. Should we do this? Let's do this! All right, kicking things off was Serbia, Tijana Bogisevic. Her dancer takes off his shirt. He was shirtless. I don't know if they're testing the light against his body and whether he's using makeup for that body, but that was nice to look at. Overall, though, this is still slightly forgettable. I think putting this first was a death sentence because the LED floor is nice, her voice is nice, but the overall package just isn't quite soaring.
Yeah, at this stage, I think they're clutching at straws to try and get through, and it was just the shirt had to go, that it had something to stand out, that there were, at least the talking point could be, oh, that was a hot topless man dancing around her instead of wearing the shirt. But yes, it's disappointing because it's such a good song, but all the package as a whole is too forgettable. There's nothing happening on stage apart from her singing and he's dancing around a little bit, but the LED isn't exciting enough. And I know we'd criticised Belgium yesterday about her staging not having much, but Belgium's song is much more impactful than In Too Deep.
Yeah, I think that Serbia, often qualify. It's very, very rare for Serbia to not make it through. I think that there is a chance that might happen, though. Tijana's good. Yes. Everything about it is good, but nothing about it is wow or great. They have a wow shot, in theory, which is the whirlpool, but, we've seen it so many times, and they just never cut to it early enough. It's just too late on, and the dancer just, even with his top off, looks a bit useless for a good 40 seconds of his appearance before you get why he's there.
What a waste. We move on to Austria. Nathan Trent, the second act to perform. They finally gave this more clouds. There's more smoke. They pumped it up. So the illusion effect at the end where he's walking on air, he appears to be walking on air. That was very good. I have the same reservations, though, about Serbia. This comes early, and as we saw last night, a lot of times the early acts, only one or two of them can make it through. So I'm concerned that hopefully he will be that one because I really like him and his song. We'll have to see.
Well, it's kind of gone from famine to feast when it comes to clouds, because first they didn't have too much, and now I think they have way too much cloud because it's coming up past his knees when he's dancing around the place. You can't see the table, but then it nearly looks as if the ground is so high anyway because it's hidden by clouds that you don't get the effect that they were after. So maybe this will be fixed in time for the jury show tonight and the main show tomorrow, but at the moment I still don't think they've nailed the staging. His song is nice. It's not quite, it is fun, and he's a fun persona and a fun character, but it's not strong enough to get any further, I think.
I would say, I think, more than any other song I've heard running on air so much, because everywhere I seem to go, Nathan Trent just happens to be performing somewhere nearby. We were eating lunch yesterday, and all of a sudden I hear running on air. And it's nice, but after a while it does start to... It's very twee, and after a while it does start to grate on you. However, I think people watching it for the first time will really appreciate this. They had a problem getting the table on stage because they had to cut to a really weird shot, and you still saw stagehands' heads popping into the frame, which happened, I think, in the very first rehearsal that he had. So for some reason, they've not quite nailed that. I do think that adding the extra fog really helps, though. I think maybe just turn it down a little bit, but I think this is better than what he had, and I don't think it would hurt his chances if they just kept it as it is right now.
Next was the former Yugoslav Republic of Macedonia, Miss Jana Burčeska. She's improving vocally with each run-through, and they had that slight effect on the vocal today. We spoke to the composer Boris Milanov, and he was very pleased with that. It's definitely better. I'm not sure if it's yet strong enough to go through. I think visually it's working for me. I know that you hate the staging, but I quite like it. There's some nice red hues now amid the black and white. I wouldn't bet on this to go through. However, I would like it to go through because I think the song is still great, and now her vocals are closer to the studio version than they were before.
I'll play this song forevermore on my playlist, but I cannot see this qualifying whatsoever. Unlike Blanche yesterday, if you closed your eyes and listened to Blanche, you could be nearly listening to the studio version.
True.
This sounds nothing like the studio version. The studio version was so overproduced into near perfection that Janak just couldn't compete. And then the staging, I'm going to say it again and again and again, they had such a wonderful concept with the music video.
True.
And then they just ditched it, and she just is there dancing alone, and rather than being kind of a cool loner, aloof from the crowd, she kind of looks like a desperate loner dancing in the middle of the floor. But it did look a touch slicker, I'll have to say that. And we've kind of written off all the acts that have come before her so far, so maybe she might be the first to qualify.
I actually think that today it looked actually the best it has looked, I think. Jana just seemed to be a bit more bubbly. She seemed happier. And I think I almost kind of feel like if Belgium managed to pull it out of the bag at the very last second, like it felt like that in the jury final and in the actual semi-final one, maybe Macedonia could, because I think Blanche has a more quality song, but Macedonia has the catchier, more fun song. And maybe just that enough will make people want to vote for it and then buy it later. Certainly happening with Blanche. The staging is a problem, it always has been, but I think Jana has done herself proud, and I think she will tonight.
Absolutely. We move on to Malta, Miss Claudia Faniello. Look, based on what's come before, I think she's going through. I think vocally, this is the moment you're like, whoa, Eurovision singers slay vocally, because this voice is everything. The staging works even in its simplicity. And in fact, coming after Macedonia, which has kind of the cityscape, the very contemporary vibe, club vibe, this is going to stand out even more with the simplicity, her singing between her own two breasts. I love that shot. Milk of life. Yes. In any case, I think this is going through. She sounded great, as she always does. She's going with the second dress, which I think is more flattering. It's looking very good for Malta in my mind.
Well, before last night, I would have said that Malta were going through, but given the
Finland.
Yeah, like I think Malta and Finland are quite similar, that they're kind of simplistic backdrops and staging, and then their song, it's not like quite a power ballad. Obviously Claudia is a bit more powerful than Norma Jean, but it's kind of a more sophisticated ballad. And viewers and juries, for whatever reason, didn't pick up the phone and give their points to Finland. So I think there is a chance that the same could happen to Malta. The only thing that's working in Malta's favour is that Anja Nielsen is the only other main contender for the crown of the best balladeer, female balladeer. Unlike yesterday, there was a bloodbath where we lost Norma Jean, we lost Georgia, we lost Albania.
I mean, I'm going to say that the act that comes sits in the running order may be in that contention for best vocal balladeer kind of thing, but we'll get to those in a moment. No! Oh, Jane!
Oh, sorry. I thought you meant immediately.
Yeah, I mean, that's... Anyway, yeah, I think that Claudia, again, she's just been faultless the entire way through this entire process of rehearsals. She's not really put a foot wrong once, and she deserves a lot of credit for that. Will that alone be enough? Now I'm not so sure. If she does go out, then does that open up a spot for Serbia, Austria, or Macedonia? Probably yes. Because I think effectively the next 5 or maybe even 6 songs in this row should all qualify. And again, before last night, I'd say unlikely you're going to get 5 qualifiers in a row. And then look what happened last night. So it's very weird. Effectively, the problem is semi-final 1 has just skewed our thoughts for everything for semi-final 2, and
kind of like with Melody Festival and these young app voters, it makes it harder to predict.
Yeah, but no, I think she deserves to score very highly with the juries, and I think maybe because it's less dark than Norma Jean, maybe that might help. I don't know.
She doesn't look like a blackbird.
Yeah.
Yodelay. We move on to Romania. I asked Ilinca, does your voice get tired from all this yodeling? And she said no, and I believe her, because today she sounded better than she has. I mean, she's always sounded great, but she's taken it to another level. She strode out confidently, looked amazing, hit her notes. Alex was feeling it. They're just growing stronger and stronger. You know, they only met a few months ago, and the chemistry is there now. This is sailing through, I have no doubt.
It's one of the standout songs of this semi and of the whole contest this year in general. And Moldova got through with ease yesterday, and Romania is a step above Moldova again. Yes, there's no question whatsoever that Romania aren't going through. And then they have their huge diaspora on top of that. So, like, I nearly think that they would be the ones that will win the semi.
I think they are the certainty, 100% certainty that Romania will qualify. And they're just so much fun. Every time I see it, I smile, which was the effect that Italy used to have on me.
Yeah.
And it's just a very fun, enjoyable 3 minutes. I continually wish that the cannons would explode and shower everybody in confetti, but I think I've now come to realise that isn't going to happen, unfortunately.
It's not a real cannon. What?
I know, but I wish, because that would be such good staging.
Well, just on the cannons, they've kind of got it right now that the cannons are in position so that behind the LED there's kind of a blue explosion, whereas before the cannons weren't properly aligned with the LED or the cameras were out of shot or whatever. But now it's obviously not as good as confetti or something firing out, but you do get the impression that they're blasting this blue light.
Rocket to the stars. We move on to the Netherlands, the sisters of Eugene. Look, I have a feeling that they've been holding back vocally, so tonight's going to be a nuclear explosion of fabulous, because they already sound amazing. 'Cause if holding back for them is like other people's best day, I have no criticism. I think they hit their cues, they hit their choreography, they don't look tired, they're still fresh. Just copy and paste everything we've been saying. They're incredibly consistent and actually very likable. They have a likability factor that not all the acts have. Even when they're singing, they're just bubbly and smiley. And those few seconds before they go on and you see them backstage, they just look so happy and lovely. And I think that's going to help. That's not a musical thing. That's a personality thing. You can't teach that. You've got it or you don't, and they've got it.
Yeah, and see, the thing about this song is that given its subject matter, it could be a very somber and dull and miserable, but they give it a new life, and even they have kind of like the Beyonce style sass where they click their fingers and they just spin around at the right times and look at the camera, and all that is right. And they're the best Benelux song in this year's contest, and Belgium got through, so there's no question in my mind that Netherlands are going through, because they arguably have the best vocal, and no one else has harmonies that come anywhere near.
No one.
They're just incredible. I'm sorry, like, they are vocally just stunning, and I think maybe that's where Malta might have a problem again, because Eugene comes after them, and Finland was on before Portugal and was that whole mystical thing, Lost from Blackbird. Will they overshadow Claudia's vocal? Possibly. I mean, they overshadow anybody's vocal. They're just by far and away the best vocal combined of the entire year. But no, they are. Just very confident that they will qualify. Very confident that they'll probably be top 10 in the final. And they may have been holding back a little bit, but again, if you have the ability to be able to hold back, you're already well on your way to success at Eurovision.
Next up is Hungary. This has improved a lot. He was so nervous during those first run-throughs, but he has now found his confidence, found his stride. Producers have improved the camera angle, so you see the dancer's face. Now I get the sizzle between them. You see the sensuality, the sexual, tension between them, and that makes it much more interesting. The stage no longer swallows him. Previously, the stage swallowed him, but now he's owning it. This is going through. I think that both the public and the jurors will get behind this. I love him beating on that Romani milk jug. He gets it.
Yeah, like, he's got the confidence, and since the first rehearsal they've put him in his stage outfit, so he has the blue shirt, and that helps him stand out even more. And the camera angles too, like you said, they've improved, and we see more of the dancer and of the woman on the violin. This is so different to anything else that is on in this semi-final that it's going to stand out, and there's nothing for jurors to dock marks for it, because his vocal and then he has the rap and the ballad kind of fused together. And I think people at home it's going to appeal to them too, because people always wonder, will a foreign language, will that impact on it? But like, it didn't do Portugal any harm last night.
Italy and Portugal this year, 1 and 2 with the odds.
I did think that he could be the dark horse to win the competition when we were going in. Now I don't think he's going to reach that, but I think he's still, again, another top 10 potential. There's always one act who really comes on leaps and bounds every time at rehearsals. In 2015 it was Loïc Notet, for example. And this kind of gives me the same vibe, a pretty dreadful almost in parts first rehearsal where he looked nervous, like he was going to throw up more than anything else. Now he's got that kind of anger and the passion comes through, and the angles are all right. I do genuinely think that this is, again, another 100% qualifier, which is where you start to run into issues. But yeah, he's very good. Dancer looks great. The pyro really works because that's on a lot longer than in some songs. Yeah, just very, very well shot.
We move on to Dansk Melodi Grand Prix winner Anja Nielsen from Denmark. Where I Am, Honey, you are on your way to the final. Look, I've never been a huge fan of the song, but she really sells it. She's really selling it. She hits every single note. Again, we've said this repeatedly. She's consistent. I've not heard her hit a bum note this entire time we've been here. And that's really impressive because we've seen her about 1 million times. It's fantastic. I think that the people who see this for the first time will be really impressed. Perhaps a lot of my bias is that we've seen this for, so long, and so I was like getting a bit sick of it. But no, she's going through for sure. Vocally alone, that's enough to pull her through. And I think there will be people who really love the staging. So yeah, see you in the final, Denmark.
Yeah, and I think she has the mass market appeal that maybe Malta doesn't, and that's where Malta falls down. Malta kind of has the classier staging and the more sophisticated ballad, but whereas Anya's is just like you'll hear it on any X Factor stage.
Yeah.
But
in fact, we have many times.
But she has her staging is much more instant, and she has so much pyro, and like it like invokes memories of Emily de Forest winning or Ella Nicky, and it kind of has a winner's vibe. It's not a winner's song, it's not going to win, but I think it will get out with ease.
She'll get them out of the relegation from the semifinals for the first time in how many years?
2014 technically, but they didn't have to qualify.
True.
So no, I think it's a very, very good job by Anya. She does. She conveys a lot of emotion in the song. The moment where she drops to her knees is my favourite bit because that really sells it. It's not my favourite song, and there are a few moments where I do get tired of hearing it. But again, with these kind of, I don't want to say generic, like winner songs, but this kind of song, it's designed to make you go wow and buy it immediately, and then you probably will never listen to it again after like 2 or 3 plays. Eurovision, that's fine. That's almost perfect for Eurovision, really, because in theory, a good percentage of the audience will only hear it twice, semi-final and then final. So I think that she is going to, again, another qualifier, and after that, I don't know how well it'll do in the final, but I think it's qualifying.
Turn up the heat and make it sway. We move to Ireland. Brendan Murray. His hot air balloon is still hot, but now it is actually waving. There is motion this time around, which gives a greater sense of taking flight. I think it adds an interesting visual element. I'm a huge fan of this. I like him in the all white, acting very boyish, very innocent, singing about love. When he goes through that big high note, if you watch his face, you see him. It's almost like he's getting ready for battle. He's like, and then he lets it out and he hits it every time. But it was interesting to see, not that he's struggling, but that he's preparing. But I think that actually fits with the song, Dying to Try. Having the visible effort works for me. I really think this is going through. I really, really think this is. I think young people will be attracted to him. Young lady is going to be dying. And I think the jurors will be attracted to his voice. And that's a winning combination.
Well, I'm going to approach this from a neutral point of view because everybody knows my real feelings about this song. But the staging has improved slightly with that swaying of the balloon. It makes it that bit more dynamic because basically beforehand he was just standing under a giant ornament. But now his vocals were probably the strongest we've heard them today. And I think that if he is to get through, it will be the juries who will kind of appreciate the unusual nature and tone to his vocals, and I don't know whether that will appeal to the public as much. But one thing that I think is kind of the nail in his coffin, it's nothing to do with his performance, but if we look at the bookies' odds, he's well adrift from the top 10, that he could be maybe down 15th or 16th. Last night, the bookies got all 10 qualifiers right.
All right, we move on.
I mean, I've never been a fan of it. I think that the staging it's insipid in a way and just too cliche, and I just don't like it. That being said, I can appreciate the fact that there will be people who will appreciate Brendan's voice, and because it is very unique, really, there will be people who are like, oh, he's magical, and they will vote for him. And maybe that's better than being a generically good song like, for example, Anja Nielsen or a dance song like Serbia. Maybe that will be in his favour. I think Omar Nabir didn't qualify, and that's probably the closest comparison you can make, kind of song-wise. And I think I just can't see Ireland qualifying. I think that losing the UK in terms of probably a guaranteed maybe 20 points, maybe, that's going to harm them. They don't have a lot of other friendly nations. I just can't see it happening. Unless, like, San Marino suddenly fall in love with Ireland. I can't see it.
We are going to pick up the pace and move into hyperdrive. We go to San Marino. Talk about a step change. We've left the hot air balloon and the innocence of that and gone to the nightclub with sticky floors. Valentina has ditched her purse. She's no longer carrying mace to protect herself from Jimmy Wilson. And she's worn a brighter outfit, a white jacket. It was a little dark before. I get it now. I think her having a lighter outfit does make this pop a bit more because they were both kind of blending into the background. Much of the same. We've seen this. This is not going through, but they're going to have a great time as they exit the semifinals.
Yeah, they will have a great time, but I don't know if people at home will have so much fun. As far as I'm concerned, this is coming last in the semi, and possibly last of all the songs once they're combined.
I enjoy it. I enjoy it for what it is. I think there's a lot of sequins on that stage, and it's almost blinding at times in the arena. They sound great. Like, they're very, very good and competent performers. I just think it's the song at the end of the day. It's a Ralph Siegel song. You know what you're going to get. Something about 30 years out of date. I can't see it qualifying. Would I be upset if it qualified? Probably not, unless it eliminated somebody that I really love, because it's disposable fun, but I can't see it qualifying.
We turn to Croatia. Jacques Hudek's duet for one. I still love this. I still think after seeing it God knows how many times, it's hilarious and yet serious, because vocally, you can't fault him. The man can sing, and I think the vocal trick he's doing will impress many jurors, or at least I hope it will, even though they weren't fans of Cesar Wattu a few years ago, and he had amazing vocal tricks too. In any case, I love this visually. I get Lion King vibes, like when Mufasa presents Simba on the top of that rock at the beginning, because there's that mountain in the background. I would love to see this go through. I don't know if that's going to happen. And in fact, given the vibes I get from other people, maybe it won't. But I keep my fingers crossed, because this is a kind of act. Freak show in a good way is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah.
Like, this is the kind of freak show you want to see. And I'm wishing him all the best.
Well, there's some changes that I thought were a bit weird today, that we said after a second rehearsal that he changed the opening camera shot where it wasn't so full on in his face and he looked more normal. They've gone back to the original one from what I saw today, so maybe they were playing around with angles, I don't know, but that doesn't work. I just think it's too weird, and it doesn't have the fun factor. Like, in the past, televoters have voted for very weird and odd and strange acts, but there's lots of fun to them. And My Friend is a deadly serious song. Like, I don't think he's singing it with a twinkle in his eye and a smirk. Yeah. I think he's taking the lyrics very literally. And then jurors, you would expect that they would appreciate the quality of his voice and the ability to move between such different genres, but they didn't appreciate Cesar. They didn't appreciate Norway last year when she had the huge change in the song. They didn't appreciate Melina Ernman. They didn't appreciate Axel Hirsu. So I don't think they're going to appreciate Jacques Hudek either.
I think they were experimenting with a few things today. I mean, Jacques was sort of almost like dancing a little bit on stage, and actually I think he maybe overdid that, because then he ran out of breath during one of his final notes and he had to kind of quickly change it. I imagine he won't do that tonight. I think he was just having a bit of fun today, because again, another person who really vocally, it's in the arena, it feels like it's somebody else, or it's a recording of the opera, because he's just that good at switching like that between these two voices. That is a lot of talent. Maybe some people will appreciate that on the juries. I think the televoters may, but if you're going to vote for fun, you're going to vote for Romania, I feel like. And do we need Moldova, Romania, and Croatia in the final? Probably not. So I think Jacques might be going.
And we move on to Norway, and I actually worry they're going to be eliminated. I was watching this today. I think Norway needs a strong song to get through, and I was watching this, and the vibe in the press room wasn't buoyant. It's a good song, you respect it, but do you love it enough to vote for it? Because it is a linear song, and I respect their talent, the production, the melody, but I don't know if other people like it as much as I do, and because it does, in the recap, when I was watching the recap, it didn't stand out. And it's just giving me pause because I really like them.
Yeah, I think it's just so generic that we've heard this style of music so much in the charts and on the radio these days that it might pass people by. However, I think it's stronger than Hovig's song, which is quite generic.
Yeah.
And he got through.
I think he benefited from the Armenian diaspora because he, of course, is Armenian and the presence of Greece. So that's 24 points right there.
Yeah, possibly, but so then that's even more nails in Norway's coffin. But there's not enough. It's not exciting enough. And see, in Melody Grand Prix, they had all the electronic vocal stuff that they really can't use here, and his voice isn't. It's not unique enough for him to do any vocal tricks. And it's not fun. It's it is fun, but it's not fun compared to Romania. It's hard to find reasons for the public to pick up the phone.
I don't know if I was listening to something else, but this was probably one of my favourites of the entire day. Genuinely, I thought it was really, really good, and I think that they are going to sail through, if I'm honest. I think it's just so ridiculously catchy. I'm always... Anytime I hear it, I just want to sing along with it. And I think, actually, at home, because it's quite a... It's a repetitive song. I think people will actually get it by the end, and I hope that will make it stand out. They've, done what they can with the on-screen shots of Alexander's face and all these little bits. I hope that it qualifies. I really hope that it qualifies because I think it deserves to, and fingers crossed that it does. But again, I could see that it not make it through, but I think it's going to go easily.
I just think that on the repetition point, Latvia were on in the prime spot yesterday, and they repeat the same line for virtually the whole song, and they had much more outlandish and memorable staging, and they went home.
And we move on to Switzerland, another act I'm slightly worried about. I'm not sure this is high impact enough to go through. I think it's improved significantly from the Swiss national final. Marina is selling it. She's got the beautiful yellow dress, the LED yellow lights on the floor, there's kind of not splatter, like rose petals or something in yellow around the staircase. It looks very nice, and she's selling it vocally, but I just don't know if it's high impact enough. Do you know what I mean? Because it's very classic in a way. The white piano, the men in the tuxedos, and I have a feeling it might pass people by.
Yeah, it's classic tackiness.
Yellow on pink isn't the best combination.
No. And it doesn't have the same kind of heavenly feel that it had beforehand. I don't know. I might be imagining it, but I had a feeling that they had lots of fog before on the floor.
Yes.
Or maybe judging by his face, we didn't. But
I'm forgetful.
yeah, but I don't know. The staging didn't jump out at me as much. I think that for this to qualify, the Romanian diaspora will have to be aware that she is Romanian and vote for her on that part, because otherwise I don't think it's any more memorable than Melanie, Renee or Raika in the last 2 years. And if I would be writing this off completely if Marina didn't have the Romanian link.
Exactly.
I'm starting to get Svala-esque vibes where it's like they've turned up and we think, oh, this is going to be brilliant, and actually now I'm in a position where I'm like, oh no, it's happening again. They've got Austria and Germany voting as well.
Yes.
Maybe that might help a little bit. And then Romania, if that point comes across. I'm sure that the Romanian broadcaster is probably going to mention it. France are voting as well, so there's a chance that Switzerland might just have enough kind of friendly nations to scrape them through in 9th or 10th. I think that's where they're fighting for, and I think if it qualifies, this probably would be last in the final. And it's not through lack of trying, because Maruna has improved vocally really, really quite a lot from where she was. But yeah, this is the one that's right on the bubble, I think.
A real grower is Belarus, Navi band. You know, this was my number one coming into Eurovision, and then in the rehearsals it slightly dipped, but that was down to camera angles, I think, now, because the producers have sorted out the camera angles, so their hoverboard, it does appear to be moving. The screen in the background, you know, moves very quickly, so you get this sense of motion. And they sell it. They always sell it. They're very happy. They're very friendly. They're very bouncy and buoyant. Ksenia looked beautiful. I think I'm hoping this goes through. I know the bookies have had this as a question mark or out throughout this whole process, but I think they are reaching a peak now. I'm hopeful. I really am hopeful.
Yeah, and the illusion is great now, because beforehand they were very static, that even though they were dancing around, they were on the same spot on the boat and they didn't move at all. Or the boat didn't move at all. The boat still doesn't move, but now we think it does, because it's whooshing, and it could be a combination of the camera work is better, and maybe they've sped up the LED on the floor a little bit, because that seems to be going by much quicker. But that adds so much. And the song, I don't think it's a definite qualifier by any means, but it has that quirkiness and the folk element that could just push it through. That we've seen Sebalter had kind of a quirky folk, even Anna Rossonelli. So maybe it could sneak through from that point of view.
And I feel like the pacing of the song is such a fast-paced song, it needs the motion.
I think if Belarus and Austria don't get through, if both of them don't get through, I think the Eurovision fandom may have a collective meltdown, because yeah, I so hope it goes through. They're lovely people as well. Like their man Nathan, it's the same thing. It's like I really like them, and that's why I want them to do well, and it helps that they both have good songs too. But I don't know. I still prefer the old staging. Yes, it's better. Vocally, Ksenia didn't sound quite on it this afternoon. I'm hoping it's just that she was resting her voice for later.
She wasn't wearing makeup either.
She wasn't wearing makeup, so I think she was just having a bit of a, I'm going to have a lazy start to the day. Not lazy, but, you know, an easy, relaxed. I hope it qualifies. I think it might if Switzerland underperform, because otherwise we're saying like Ireland, San Marino, Croatia, Norway, Switzerland probably won't all qualify. Then it's kind of like, well, Belarus has to qualify, so hopefully they do.
Next is Bulgaria. This is a dead cert qualifier. It looks expensive. He sings. He looks very at ease. They're improving the squiggles on the screen. I talked to the composer Boris Milanov before he went on, and they're working to change them so that they're even less childlike. I think in the last rehearsal they were quite good. And he shares the idea that they shouldn't be so kiddie-ish. So yeah, this is good. There's not much more to add. He's going through, and he deserves to.
Yeah, like he's definitely the strongest male vocalist in this semi. The song is modern. I think both juries and the public will appreciate that. Like you said, the graphics they're more sophisticated and they're more defined. It's not like a big blobby squiggle now. And I think he's hitting his marks better now, where he kind of swooshes his hand and the squiggles kind of appear, and he's hitting that now, whereas before he kind of swooshed his hand and then the squiggles came after or before. But yeah, I can understand definitely why this is the favourite with the bookies to win the semi-final. I mean,
it's much less crayon now, much more precision LED.
I think he's now kind of fighting for third or fourth. He's kind of fighting now to beat Polygenovas' record for Bulgaria. I think he's out of contention for the win, if I'm honest, because I don't even think that the Russian diaspora, that whole thing, is going to pull off, really. It kind of leaves me feeling a little bit cold at times. It's very monochrome, and sometimes that's fine, and then sometimes like this, it just feels a bit too grey. But all that being said, he is amazing, and the song is brilliant. It's just that I think that it's just lacking that little spark to make it a Eurovision winner. But I do think, you know, third, fourth, fifth is very achievable for this.
Lithuania fused mark. Lead singer Victoria has got her happy back. You no longer think she's going to reach out into the screen through your TV and kill you. She is selling what she has. I don't like what she's selling, therefore I'm not buying. But I think she's very comfortable on this stage. I think she's doing her, so, you know, well done you. I like her styling. It's a little edgy and boho. You know, I personally don't see this qualifying in any scenario whatsoever. I don't see this doing well with jury or televoters, but it has improved, so well done.
Well, I don't have any comments to add that I haven't said in any of the other videos about Lithuania, save that she decided to brush her hair for the first time in any of her rehearsals today.
Yes.
I have said kind of for a while that if anything was going to really shock us, Lithuania qualifying would be the shock, because, you know, I think they have a lot of Lithuanian people living in a lot of these countries. Ireland, I think Germany too. I mean, it's just a fact, and sometimes that is quite helpful for Lithuania. I do think it's better than Andreas Pajavis, and he qualified. This is a tougher semi-final, I think. And it's one of those things where it does get stuck in my head, and I just wonder whether somehow they'll pull it off. I don't personally want it in the final, don't get me wrong, but is she terrible? No. Is it great? No. Is it average? Probably yes.
To that point about getting stuck in your head, trauma victims, relive their trauma over and over as well, so perhaps there's something similar. Estonia, Laura Ankoid. Stunning staging. It's black and white monochrome, but this is a happy monochrome as opposed to Kristian Kostov, which is more serious and austere. This is very inviting. I've heard it a million times. I'm not sick of it. They're selling it. They're hitting their vocals. It looks expensive and polished. I mean, I could go on for days. I think this could finish top 3 in this semi. Maybe it could even win, because duets often get a bit of a push. It's fantastic. I have nothing to add. They are selling it. I am buying it. I'm going to listen to this after Eurovision. When people see this on stage, they will be impressed. Duets often do very well. Yep. Shanae, Nevergreen, that was cheesy as hell, and it came forth. This is less cheesy, more high impact. I'm feeling good about it.
Yeah, they're selling cheese, but it is the really expensive, high quality stuff. Because even Coit, every time Coit looks at the camera, it's very hard not to start laughing, but because he's trying to be like real sexy and sexual, which he probably would be if he just didn't pull this look, because he's a very handsome man, but
very big.
But this he kind of not quite makes a fool out of himself, but it is a bit silly. But the song and the rest of the staging is strong enough that it's going to sail through.
I do think it could win the semi-final. They've done such a good job of working the camera angles and issues that they had out. Because it genuinely looks... I know Laura's on stage, but when Coit makes his entrance, I'm like, wait, hang on, where's Laura? They keep them apart. They're sharing the same stage, but they keep them apart so well and film it so well. It has impact. You'd almost think Laura was on the satellite stage at times. Like, she must be somewhere completely different. Really, really good. I think it's very, very cheesy, but hey, cheese does win at Eurovision. Look at Running Scared.
Calcium's great for your teeth. Now look, I don't feel alive. I feel dead. You may have noticed I've been yawning this entire video all day. I haven't slept since April 27th. But Israel came on today and I perked up. I think visually it strikes a different tone than anything else. It's the only club banger, we know that. But even visually, it captures that clubby feel better. Like Tiana's song is meant to be a kind of dance song, but it doesn't feel that way at all. Whereas this feels proper club. The grays starting out very dark and then it's all bright and happy. His choreography is on point. I think he gets better and better with the dance moves. Although towards the end of this, they were slightly out of sync with the backing dancers. That's easily fixed, though. They just need to, be on point tonight. Vocally, it seems that someone else is singing the "I Feel Alive" part, and for good reason, because they've been struggling with this throughout the entire competition. Yeah. So good to sort that out. I'm not convinced it's going through. I'd like to see it go through because I think we need to celebrate diversity in genres in the final. I think this could go through at 9th or 10th, but I don't see it going through any higher.
Yeah, at the moment I think it's just a theory that it's his backing singers, but I would be very surprised if it's not, because he's suddenly been able to hit it, and he hasn't been able to hit it all through rehearsals. And what's interesting as well is there's only one. I tried to count after the first one when I decided to pay attention. He holds the mic up close. There's a close-up shot of him when he sings Alive, and I'm convinced that he pulled the mic away before Alive finished, and every other time he sings Alive the camera is from way out. It's a long shot, so we can't see his face. So I'm convinced he's pulled a Samra,
which is fair enough.
Or in some cases pulled a Demi. It feels very much like they have thrown literally everything they can at this. They're throwing flames, they're throwing pyro, they're throwing a dance routine, they're throwing a backing LED that's crazy. And I think it's because they're having to cover for the fact that their lead man isn't quite hitting it.
In that register. I think the lower register is very good.
He is very good at 75% of the song. It's just the big moment of the song where it is like, Greece qualified though. but Triana Park didn't. And my whole reasoning for why I thought Israel was going to easily qualify was, well, they're on last. Everybody who sings last qualifies, other than Moya 3 and now Triana Park. Again, would I be sad if this made it through? No, but I would rather other songs make it through. It's nice to have Israel in the final always, I think, because, you know, they do offer a lot. And somebody just tried to break into our room. I think it might just make it. Again, it's kind of fighting with Switzerland and a couple of other countries for that bubble kind of spots.
Well, we are being kicked out of the room, so we
Yeah.
will wrap this up. It's very good timing. Those are the 18 acts. This was a rehearsal of the jury show tonight. Who do you think is going through? Who do you want to do well? Who do you think has improved the most since the first rehearsals? You can let us know here on Wee Wee Blogs.
And make sure to subscribe.
And please like and share this video.
And please get me some caffeine because I'm
Yeah.
about to pass out. We'll see you later. Bye!